For some of you sport coach owners, you might be in for a surprise when you go to change your shocks. That wire you see there is going back to the hitch for a transmission pump for a Toad, which I don't plan on using. But here's the deal. I had a clunk and I figured out it was a shock. I only got 75,000 miles on here, but I figured I'd be a nice guy and change the shocks. The other thing, that's a load leveler right there, you see? And it's got a slot on that nut, and it was bottomed out. The coach had a nose down stance before, and never really thought about it much. But when you go to change the shocks, the shocking development is the head of the bolt's on that side, so you can't pull the bolt out. The chassis came from Freightliner. I've had Freightliners for almost 28 years, semis. I like Freightliners. So the chassis maker builds the coach. I think the bolt should have went in the other way, because this, you can't probably tell with me laying on my back, but that bracket's on an angle. This way, if the nut came off, the bolt would possibly stay in the shock. So I couldn't figure out how to take this out. I called Coachman, who's now owned by Forest River, and he said he'd take a plasma cutter and cut the head of the bolt off, which I didn't have, and I struggled with this for days. Finally, the Sawzall worked, and I was really surprised. True Value had Class A, Grade A bolts, so I got the Grade A bolts put back in there. That's a fuel neck to the fuel tank. I even considered dropping the fuel tank down, but it's not a very easy job, since those pipe fittings that go through the frame for that fill nozzle probably put in 14 years ago and ain't coming out. Then I was able to change my shocks, so I'm hoping to get a better ride. I had a vibration I didn't consider was tire balance, and so this is what I think is going to fix it. New set of shocks, and the air valve adjusted correctly, but putting on the shocks was shocking.